It's a sweltering day in Queensland. I'm sitting in a small room in a juvenile detention centre. The walls stretch wide, but the room closes in. There are bars on the windows that don't let in any light. Nothing sharp, nothing dangerous, nothing you could use to harm yourself or anyone else. A space designed to be safe, but stripped of everything human. And in that room sits a boy, 16 years old, arms crossed, eyes fixed anywhere but mine, silent. How are you feeling today? Would you mind sharing a little bit about your story? I knew that silence. It was an old friend. I'd grown up with it my entire life. And I knew that those silences carried whole worlds within them. I tear a page from my notebook and I hand the boy a pen. A bridge across the silence, a way to meet him halfway. Write, I say. Draw. Say it your way. He hesitates, but then his pen scratches out one word. Scared. Then another. Confused? There it is, his voice. I'd heard that silence before sitting at my kitchen table next to my younger sister Corica. She's Down syndrome, is deaf and non-verbal, but her eyes are always telling stories. During COVID-19, when the world shut down, my sister's music therapy classes moved online. And for weeks, my sister, not used to the change, sat largely unresponsive, and the house seemed to hollow out around us, filled with a heavy silence. Then after weeks of trying, her therapist attempted something different and began to play a song that was intentionally loud, fast, and angry. My sister's hands instantly moved as if searching for something, and so I quickly passed her a tambourine sitting on the table nearby. The act of passing felt like the creation of another kind of bridge, a way to meet her where she was without using words. My sister instantly grabbed the tambourine and struck it hard, her tiny body erupting with movement, her eyes alive and filled with language. There it was, her voice. My sister's silence broke open, not through words, but music. And so I turned to her and I said in the language that we share, "You are heard." This year, I've been appointed Australia's Youth Representative to the United Nations, a role that has taken me across this vast continent to listen, learn, and carry the voices of young Australians to the world stage, the United Nations. Over the past 9 months, I've been on the road, travelling across Australia's 7.7 million square kilometres, from Tasmania to the Tiwi Islands, from bustling cities to remote desert towns, through every state and territory, talking to thousands of young people, in prisons, in out-of-home care, in refugee centres, classrooms, remote communities, and with communities out on country with First Nations mob. Let me tell you about the Tiwi Islands, where the red dust clings to your feet. Here in Warramayunga, as it's known in the powerful, ancient, living language of the Tiwi people, the ground is filled with footsteps. Elders walk with a quiet strength, stories etched deep into their voices, whilst beside them children dart and weave, cousins chasing cousins, their laughter rising in the heavy air. The Tiwi women welcome me as a granddaughter. Generations fold into one another, and the ground beneath us is filled with stories, resilience, and spirit. And yet this place, so full of life, is met with silence by those in power. Voices of young and old ripple outwards, asking for basic support, groceries to alleviate poverty, essential medical resources, but their voices are left unanswered. Promises drift by like smoke on the horizon. I'm told a major politician hasn't visited this place in years. And this sense of abandonment doesn't just echo across communities like Warramayunga. It seeps into the lives of children across this nation. Over the next few months, I sit with kids as young as 10, locked in detention for longer than they've had a stable home. I meet kids in ankle monitors playing in parks, speak to children who join gangs not to cause harm, but because they were craving a family the system never gave them. I hold the hands of deaf children with disabilities pushed to the ground by police for not following commands that they could not physically hear. And for a while, it feels like a race to the bottom. But amidst the rubble of that betrayal, there is quiet strength rising in unexpected places. Children reaching across the chasm, crafting their own bridges to meet those who control their lives halfway, beginning a critical conversation. So I began collecting letters, thousands of them, to the Prime Minister, to the nation, and to the world. Letters from detention centres, refugee camps, remote communities out on country, classrooms. Some were written, others took the form of poems, and some I wrote as I simply listened to the child next to me cry out and tell their story. For the first time, children across Australia who had been silenced their entire lives, metaphorically or otherwise, picked up a pen and wrote. And these letters, they spoke for themselves. You are seen. Dear Prime Minister, maybe you've heard about the youth crime here in Alice Springs, but I don't believe that's what our kids want to be doing. I think it's all they know how to pass the time, with homes being unsafe, with drugs and alcohol, parents who were never taught to raise kids differently. We need to change the stereotype, because only when we are recognised can we change. Everyone wants Alice to thrive, but what we need most is to be seen as kids who love our home. Dear Prime Minister, my name is Sophia, and I've lived on Christmas Island my entire life. I've seen our island cut off during the pandemic. I've seen refugee boats turned around and families locked away. One of those families became my friends. I watched my mum sob when you won the election because it meant our friends could finally go home. But families here still can't afford basics. Fresh food costs triple. Please fix these issues in this territory that you govern. Dear Prime Minister, my name is Charlotte. I'm from regional Victoria and I have big dreams, a career I care about deeply, but I know I'll have to leave my hometown to chase it. My parents can't afford the rent, the travel, the debt. University is already so expensive. Please help kids like me follow our dreams. Our future is bright, if only we can reach it. Dear Prime Guy, my name is Malachi. I'm 16 years old and I haven't had a good experience with life. I'm writing to you from Bimberi Youth Detention Centre here in the ACT. I would tell them I was getting hurt, starved, yelled at, but they still did nothing. They never let me see my mum. We need more housing for people who have nowhere to go, because I know I'll have nowhere to go when I get out. And have a good day. Keep a smile on your face. Each of these letters is addressed to the Prime Minister. But if we look closely, there's actually a common message, a single voice which speaks to us all. You matter. You have a role to play. Because to be a bridge between worlds is not the work of Parliament or the United Nations alone. It begins much closer to home, in our kitchens, our streets, our workplaces. This is a responsibility that we all carry, to stretch ourselves between the powerful and the marginalised, between privilege and struggle, between those who are heard and those who are silenced. Being a bridge is not passive. It is the hard human work of holding weight, of meeting others halfway, and of carrying voices across until there is no longer any need for a bridge because those divisions become non-existent. So if you're a teacher, stretch yourselves beyond the familiar paths of grading and curriculums and allow your student to submit a song instead of an essay. If you meet someone who struggles with English as their first language, invite them to share their stories through photos, a meal, or a cultural practice. And if you're a local community leader, don't remain in the halls of power. Go to the places where the people we serve truly are, the community kitchens, the skate parks, the local footy field. Being a bridge means listening in different languages, in sign, in art, in story, in sound, until the distance between us is no longer felt. As youth representative, the story I wanted to leave behind for every young voice I was entrusted with was this: you matter. That no voice, no matter how it was expressed, went unheard. Voices which carried the pain of a beautifully layered and multifaceted generation. Children in detention, in refugee centres, those with disabilities struggling to be heard because the world doesn't know how to listen to kids who communicate differently. Throughout this journey, young people have made themselves visible in all languages, through sign, through song, through yarning circles out on country in the powerful silence, or through the joyous noise of music and conversation. Sophia from Christmas Island, Charlotte from regional Victoria, Malachi from Bimbera Youth Detention Centre, my sister with her tambourine. These are not whispers on the margins. They are speaking with the strength of difference. They are speaking in words, in music, in art, in silence. But we are not listening. Language is more than words. It is a relationship. There are bridges in every drawing, every song, every silence. And now it is on us to walk across them. If we want to call ourselves a representative democracy, then we must acknowledge the mosaic of languages, faces, and cultures that make up the foundation of this country. Let's build a democracy that looks, feels, and sounds like all of us together. Earlier on my journey, I asked every young person I met to write a letter to the Prime Minister. Not because I believed that they would all be answered, but because I believe that when young people put pen to paper, they show us what leadership is meant to sound like in all voices. And I took those letters with me, and I brought them with me to Parliament, and I laid them on the desks of those who hold power. That was the bridge from red dust to Parliament, and then to the world stage. Their voices, thousands of letters, were never meant to end with me. And so weeks later, I took those letters all the way to New York to deliver to world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly. And in those gilded halls, that bridge is me. In the midst of the rush, moments before I am called to bring the voices of thousands of young Australians before the United Nations, there is a silence. A silence so rich, it seems to stretch across the marble floors and ornate ceilings, holding entire worlds within it. The laughter and the tears, the hopes and the fears, the stories of every person I carry with me. The same silence I heard at my kitchen table next to my younger sister as she searched for her tambourine as an instrument for her voice. The same silence of that 16-year-old boy in that bare detention room thinking how to let his heart speak. And suddenly that silence is filled with the melodious songs of the Tiwi women who welcome me as their granddaughter, the cries of the children in shackles, the deaf child thrown to the floor by police. I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for them. I'm speaking with them, and I'm speaking because they matter. Imagine a world where every child wakes in a home that feels safe, where schools are filled with voices of all shapes and sounds, echoing across classrooms, which bend to meet each learner, not the other way around. Picture streets and parks where young people roam freely, without fear, where teachers, neighbours and community leaders step fully into their worlds, meet them halfway and walk alongside them, where justice is not a cage, but a hand extended. See a nation where disability is never a barrier to participation, where silence is not mistaken for absence, and where difference is not seen as a problem to fix, but a force which strengthens us all. Where the laughter of children on remote islands in bustling cities and desert towns is carried into every room where a decision is made, shaping policy, shaping opportunity, and shaping lives. And in this future, every young person knows, I am seen, I am heard, and I matter. And to every one of you, no matter how you share your voice with the world, you are seen, you are heard, and you matter. Thank you.